Hi, I'm Glenda Propst, and welcome to Hot Topics. We want to wish everybody a happy International Nanny Transit. Oh my gosh, happy International Nanny Recognition Week. We are so excited to be here tonight. We're so happy to see you guys here. As Becky said, this will be recorded, and you'll be able to share it with your friends. Other people will be able to come in and watch it. So just keep that in mind. And as Becky said earlier, if you don't want to be on the recording, you can mute yourself, and you can turn your camera off if you don't want your face to show on the recording. Did I miss anything there, Becky?
Nope, that's it, I think.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know me, I am the owner and creator of Nanny Transitions. And I have been involved in the nanny industry for 39 years. I marched on Capitol Hill in 1998 at the very first National Nanny Recognition Week. And it was one of the highlights of my nanny career. And I met Becky Kavanagh at the INA conference in 1991, when ironically it was the same year that my dear friend, the late great Harriet Grant, was named the first International Nanny Association Nanny of the Year. And Becky and I became good friends through our work in INA. We have a mutual respect for each other and an uncanny ability to be able to read each other's minds. I mean, it's crazy. I'm not kidding you. So Becky and I decided to partner in the rebuilding team because we did our work with nannies in transition in the private Nanny Transitions Facebook group. One of the things that we realized was that a lot of the nannies were falling through the cracks. They weren't members of INA. They weren't going to Nanny Palooza. They didn't have local nanny support groups where they could go to iNNRW events. And they were great nannies, but they just didn't know a lot of the ins and outs or how to even deal with the challenges of the job. So Becky and I created the rebuilding team, and this is what we do together for nannies. We coach and mentor them, and we create these workshops and videos. And one of the things that came out of our work was that people said, there's nothing out there for parents about how to tell your nanny, how to let your nanny go. There's stuff out there that's very technical and very clinical, but there's nothing that talks about how hard it is to let your nanny go and the process of letting your nanny go. And so that was why we created the video that we did, the Hardest Goodbye video. And tonight, we're going to talk about some of the hot topics of working in the industry. And as Becky and I planned this, it was amazing how each one of these topics flowed into the other one. So whether you've been a nanny for 5 months or 25 years, you probably will come away tonight learning something that you didn't know. And I know that Becky and I will too. So thanks for being here. And I'm going to turn this back to Becky.
All righty. Well, okay, you know me too. So I'm Becky Kavanagh, and so delighted to be a partner with Glenda. We have a hoot of a time, as you, I'm sure, can tell and have guessed. I've been in the industry for, I think, like 34 years, something like that. And it's been a real journey. I always think of it as being like a little bit on a roller coaster. And there are some great ups and some wild downs, and then there's some nice gentle hills in the middle. And I think all of you know that so well because you're all very seasoned people as well. But those who are viewing, maybe you are in a struggle. Maybe you're going up and things look great, and then you're going down and things aren't so great. So Nanny Transitions, the rebuilding team, these are all things here to help you through all the parts of your job, whether you're going up or coming down or having a challenging time or taking a hard curve. We're here for you. And it's such a delight to be able to work with all the nannies that we have been able to touch and reach and talk with. And and see some changes in people's lives. It's important because they take care of kids, and kids are important. And I will tell you guys that retirement is not forever. I'm going to come out of retirement for a short window and help my oldest nanny kid with her baby. So for about the next 6 months, I'm going to be doing that. So now that's on the record, and I'll have to actually do what I said I was going to do.
That's right.
So, never say never.
It's recorded. We all have it for blackmail purposes.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So I'm going to be going there in a few weeks. So it'll be different and exciting. So we travel on. But I'm going to turn it over to Glenda to get us going with our first hot topic.
Well, our first hot topic is a topic that nobody wants to talk about, and the part of a job ending that nobody wants to talk about. It's about the signs a job is ending. And there are, if you've heard me say this before, there are real specific signs that a job is ending. And communication, of course, is at the top of that list. And hi, Jennifer. So, communication is something that's so important, and it's something that we all have to learn. And it's something that we all have to relearn every time that we take a new job, because every family's different. Every family has a different style. And we're coming in and we don't know this family. And so we have to learn how to communicate best with them, because some families might like to, some parents might like to just have phone chats when they can with you during the day and talk about things. Or some parents might like to text you about different things. Some parents might like to communicate via email. And those are all good things, and those are all great ways to communicate. But you also have to have face-to-face communication. You also have to have those sit-down meetings where, you talk about things. And the fact of the matter is that sometimes parents are not good at communicating. They might be good at communicating on their job. They might be good at communicating with their spouse, but communicating with you is just not at the top of their priority list. And so it's our responsibility to make that communication happen. I always say that I learned to be a good partner by being a nanny because I learned how to communicate. I had great employers who, my first boss was a PR person, so she had great communication skills. My second boss was a corporate attorney, so she had great communication skills. So I learned those communication skills with them. But there were still times whenever I had to be the one to step up and say, hey, we need to talk about this. And sometimes that's hard for us, because sometimes we just think, we think, well, maybe it's not that important. Maybe it's only important to me. But communication is the number one thing that you have to have. And the other thing I want to talk about is that, sometimes on your job, you start to see these different signs of troubles. And they may not be things that are going to end your job. They may just be things that you need to talk to your employers about, and things that you need to resolve with them. But the worst thing that you can do is, when you see something, is to ignore it. Because sometimes, for example, if you feel like the parents aren't respecting you anymore, if you feel like they don't respect your choices or your discipline techniques with the children, it might just be that they're just distracted. But I want you to always remember that we are teaching our employers how to treat us from the very first day on the job. And what we allow is what will happen. So we do have some control over that, and we should have some control over that. And we should set some of those boundaries from the very first interview. We should have that communication conversation in that very first interview and let them know that you expect to have these meetings and you expect to have these touch points. And, you know, if you get into that habit from the very beginning, you may have to push for it, but you can continue to have it. You know, sometimes parents take over jobs that used to be yours and you go, ooh, okay, well, I don't have to do that anymore. Yay. Which, and sometimes that's great. You know, sometimes it just means that as the kids get older, the parent can manage things a little better than they could whenever they were a year or, you know, 6 months old or something. And so they take over those things and it doesn't mean anything. But sometimes it on your job, it means that they feel like the kids, you know, they're able to manage the kids a little better. And so you need to think about that. And you might even want to say, instead of saying, woohoo, I don't have to do that anymore, you might want to say, I know that I don't do this anymore, but is there something else that I could do that would be helpful to you? But you need to communicate about those things because all those little things can be signs that your job is, it can be changing, transitioning, or ending. But you have to keep that communication up. The other thing is that, you know, when we see those things, we kind of inside of ourselves, I think that, you know, the first sign of grief is denial. And so when we start to see those little signs, we don't want to think, oh, maybe my job might be ending, or maybe things might be changing, or maybe things might be transitioning, because we don't like change. We like things smooth, easy, organized, just how, you know, we expect them to go. So when these things start to happen or these changes start to happen, we have a tendency to just say, okay, well, you know, and just go with the flow. But sometimes we have to stop and say, is there more to this? And again, is there something that I can do to take up that slack or make that easier for my boss to make myself more useful? Because that's the whole goal is, you know, you want to be needed, right? You want to be useful. You want to be a benefit for your employers. So you need to be conscious of these signs. Again, it doesn't mean your job's ending, but it means your job's changing. And if your job's changing, you need to roll with the changes and adapt to the changes. When the parents stop accommodating your needs, when you dread going to work, Becky, should I take her question now or should I wait till I'm finished with this
Carrie,
section?
you just carry on.
Okay. I'll get to you in 1 minute, Carrie.
I don't have one.
When, sorry, I got off track. You just have to be aware. You have to watch for the signs on the wall. You have to watch for the changes in your job, and you have to be proactive about them. And if you're proactive about them and you're brave and you have the hard conversations with your employer, then you can go through you can flow through these changes. And you can talk to your employer about these things and you can see how your communication is. If you're having an issue, if your employer is not respecting you and you really do feel like it's you, and you go to your employer and you try to talk to them and you don't get through to them or they don't want to make time to talk to you, then you have to really kind of start to wonder, you know, what is going on here? A general feeling of just something's just not right here. That's your gut, and you need to trust your gut. And the most important thing that I want you to remember about this is that there are definitely signs your job is changing, transitioning, or ending. And you should never, ever allow your employer to control your fate. That is on you. What is going to happen in your future? You should have a plan for that. You should know what you want to be doing in a year. You should know what you should want to be doing in 2 years. So many times nannies find a family and they say, oh, we want to keep you forever. And they're like, oh, I'm done. I'm good. I'm safe. And then all those little things start to build up and all those signs are on the wall. And you're like, yeah, but they're keeping me forever. That's okay. This relationship has to be taken care of. It has to be nurtured. It has to grow. And it has to be a trusting, growing, developing relationship. And oh, okay, Carrie, thank you. So I want you to remember that you are in charge of your life and you are in charge of your future, and that should be on you. And as a nanny, you should have a plan. Even if you think you're going to have a job forever, don't allow someone else to make your life decisions for you. Okay? And now Becky is going to talk about our next topic, which just flows into this one. So take it away, Becky.
All right. So this is about holding on and letting go. And I know that all of you know what that's about. What do you hold on to? What do you let go of when you leave one job and you come into another job? Nannies leave jobs for all kinds of reasons. And Glenda's gone over all those types of things that we see that are signs of things ending. But sometimes we're dragging things with us. And that is such a challenge because it can prevent you from enjoying the job you're coming into. It can color everything in this new position. It can change how you feel about things. So if you left your last job because you were feeling burned out, or you moved on to another job with a family and you feel they weren't going to pay you well, or you were looking for better benefits and you thought, oh, I'll get that one, that'll be great. But you didn't really think about how things flowed from closing that one job out and ending that and starting a new job. I really say, okay, so we have a lot of people in our transitions page chatting about things, and they'll say things like, I'm really still upset, but I'm starting this new job and I don't really bond with this child, or I'm not really enjoying this new job. And it feels like they haven't had any time to feel all the feelings and get all those emotions addressed. You have to look at them. You're sad, you're confused, you're upset, you're worried. All of the things you're feeling are important, and you need to look at them so that you're not dragging them along with you. Think about what happened in the old job. What stopped working? What went wrong? Because that could be a lesson for you that you need to learn. Take time to evaluate that. What was your role in it? Was there something that you were doing that caused the situation to happen? It could be things like burned out. What did I do that I got myself there? Was it job creep? There's all kinds of things that can happen that start that off. Or were there things that I was doing that I was just not communicating with the parents about? And, that's not okay either. So we have all these things that we have to look at and ask ourselves, how did we play? What role did we play? Was it easier to just leave the job than to fix the problem? And sometimes that's true. We don't, on the whole, I would say most nannies don't like confrontation. We're fine addressing those things with children, things that need to be addressed, and come to them and say, now let's talk about this. And we're great at that. We're good communicators. We're wonderful with kids. And then we get to the parents, and all of those skill sets that we use with them and that we're building in them, we sort of like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. It seems really hard. And we kind of walk back on it. So if you didn't fix the problem or make the attempt to fix the problem, it's going to come and haunt you again unless you address that and look at that. Were your employers really hard to communicate? Maybe so. And maybe you need to build some skills there. But also the other thing is, did you put in the effort and the communication yourself? Were you asking the questions, the easy questions, before you got to the difficult questions? So think about that. Did you set up regular meetings to talk? And I know that people have challenges with that. We've all been there. We've all had that where you really want to talk to them. They can't get themselves together. But I believe you can keep at it without being a pest and get them to talk with you about things. Find a time to have a chat about something. And it could be a quick little, just take 15 minutes to do this or whatever. But part of that has to be, what am I doing to make this happen? And because it's for my good, for the children's good, for the family's good, for the parents' good. So if I have to work hard to get that to happen, I will. Or did you just avoid things where you would, hey, I can raise my hand too. I like to avoid things. If they're not responsive right away, I'm like, oh, I don't think I want to go dig that out. Okay, they don't really care. Okay, I don't want to talk about it. Not great. Back to the face your fears, face the situation, deal with it. It's much better to have it out and have the conversation. Did you try to find solutions? Or was it just easier to just find a new job? I mean, those things are, challenges for all of us. I think that sometimes I'm going to go back into this roller coaster thing. Sometimes we just have to hang on and work through it to get back on the upscale. So you have to put in the work. You have to put in the job. If you answered yes to particularly the last one about finding solutions or finding a new job, you just haven't resolved things, and that's going to drag you down. Unresolved situations, unresolved problems, unresolved feelings can get in the way of what you're doing going forward. You might be holding on to old habits that you've had, or struggling to admit that the part that you owned and why it didn't work out. And then how can you be sure that the new job's going to be any different? I think we want to grab onto the easy train of things and go, oh, this is going to be better because now I'm getting paid more, but the job isn't better necessarily. So you have to deal with the past so you're not dragging it forward. I think that you need to be always constantly in a state of looking for what are you going to make differently? If you are working without a work agreement, okay, we all know that is not healthy or helpful. If you allowed yourself to be paid illegally, that's not okay. If you haven't talked about discussions and meetings, you want to make sure you do that. If you haven't had those progressive things to get more information from the family and have an open communication, that's a problem. If you haven't learned to recognize the signs that Glenda shared about how the job could be ending, that's a problem. Eventually, you'll see the same things in the next job that you had in the last one that were never resolved. They just come back and haunt you. You have to look over what's going on from that past job that did not end well or did not end the way you wanted to, and not drag it behind you into that new family. And it's that thing of setting that next family up for success. And I'm going to say this word, this thing that it bothers me so much, and I'm going to talk about it, the unicorn family. The reason I don't like that, now I know some people do, okay, but the reason I don't like that is because it's unrealistic. The unicorn isn't real, and that perfect family is not there. They're not real either. You can't be bringing things to that job and saying it's going to be perfect. You can't. You have to deal with every situation realistically, face it, look at it, do the work, because you're just going from one situation to just a different frying pan. So Glenda, take us home on this one.
Okay. So instead of just changing frying pans to be willing, you have to be willing to ask yourself the hard questions. First and foremost, you have to own your part. You have to be really honest with yourself and ask yourself these hard questions about what did you do on this job that maybe you shouldn't have done. Maybe you just got too comfortable. Maybe you kind of begin to take things for granted. Maybe you didn't speak up, or maybe you just allowed job creep to happen until you got burned out. But here's the thing, and I had to learn this the hard way, and so I'm not telling you to do something that I didn't learn that I had to do. I had to say to myself, that was a really good job, and I loved that job. In the beginning, I loved that job, and I loved that job for a long time. But when did you quit loving that job? What happened in that job that made you quit loving that job? What shifted in that job that made you question whether or not that was the job for you? And you have to be really honest about it, because when you own your part, it grows you as a professional. It grows you as a nanny. And as hard as it is, it helps you be stronger, and it helps you be smarter, and it helps you moving forward not to make the same mistake again. So what were the red flags that you didn't see? What were the things that you ignored or brushed under the rug and just went, oh, well, that's okay because I've got this, And what are you willing to do differently in your next job that you didn't do in your last job? What do you want to bring to your new job? What kind of new skills, new techniques, new methods do you want to bring to your next job? How to set, boundaries, things like that. How do you want that to work in your next job? And then what do you love about your previous job that you want to carry with you into your next job? What worked for you? What didn't work for you? When did you notice that things were changing? How did that job grow you? And then you have to ask yourself, am I holding on or am I letting go? Because as Stacy introduced this beautiful song to us, and if you've never heard it, just look it up. Holding on and letting go. It's beautiful. The words are beautiful. The words are so true for us as nannies as we transition. And we have to decide, are we going to hold on to the past, or are we going to let go and move forward to the future? And so as we do that, we have to think about change, because change is really hard. Its transitions are so hard. And you know what? They're hard every single time. They don't get easier. We might be better prepared to deal with them, but Stacy will tell you, Angela will tell you, Cindy will definitely tell you, Deirdre will tell you, Jennifer will tell you, Carrie will tell you. We all know change, transition is hard. Susan, we know it's hard. It never gets easier. We just have better tools to work with, I think, that make us smarter as we grow forward. But we have to remember that we have to prepare. We can't just jump out of one frying pan and into the next frying pan. We have to make the changes to make the new beginning, okay? And one of the things that's the most important, the very most important, and Becky's going to take over here in a minute, but what I want you to really, really think about, and I've got to put this a little closer because I can't read it, is you have to be patient with yourself, and you have to give yourself the grace to learn a whole new schedule, a whole new routine, a whole new family, all of those things. You have to learn all of those things, okay? And the most important thing that you have to learn is you have to learn that you are still an amazing, incredible person, and you have to give yourself the grace to move forward. Now, Becky, this one's yours, and I'm going to just let you go right into it.
Okay. So I believe that all of us have a superpower, or two, or three. And there's something in your carpet bag. You think of like Mary Poppins, right? She's pulling all these things out that is just so shiny. And you have that. So I want us to take a moment now. If you have paper and pencil, that's great, but you don't need it. Take a moment to think of, what is your superpower? What is the thing that you bring to your work, to the children, to the job, to what you do that really is your own little magical piece? What are you bringing in there? And some of you might have very similar ideas of what it could be. But I know we all have them. And I think sometimes we forget that we have them. So when we get into a place where it's been a really hard transition, a really hard, challenging change, we forget all the reasons that we are so great at what we do. And we need to keep that very much in our mind, because we have to deal with all those issues from the past, but we always should remember why we're so good at what we do. So I thought I'd share with you what I think my superpowers are. I think I have more than a few. Okay. I am able to manage many things at one time. Now, other than, not like multitasking where you're doing many things, it's knowing what's happening. It's the big picture kind of looking. I can kind of step back and see it all and be able to tell that has to go here, this has to go there, that kind of thing. And the other thing I think is empathy, to be empathetic. I feel like that's something I tap into. And I want Glenda to share hers as well. I know she has a few.
Well, I think that my superpower is that I can see things through the parents' eyes too. I can empathize with them, and I can put myself in their place. And I have learned over the last several years how to be really honest with myself and to have the hard conversations. But I think that's mine, is to be able to look at both sides.
So I'm going to invite, thanks, Glenda. I'm going to invite you guys, if you'd like to share your superpower with us. You don't have to, but if you would like to, you can unmute yourself and share with the group. Who would be first? Come on.
Can I be first?
Yes, Cindy.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Well, I also am a musician, and I write songs and stories, and I've done a lot of work with arts organizations. So definitely fostering creativity with children, and even with, toddlers. I think they can, begin, understanding that, and then ownership of things that they've created. And my nanny families have often had like a whole wall in their house with all of the creations that their the children have made. And so that's definitely one. And I think something else that's maybe more of a soft skill is over the years have found I work really well with teaming with a lot of moving parts as far as family members and different staff or whatever, that a lot of nannies may find they work better, just going in and I'll just do it. And I have had so many jobs where this grandmother lives with them part of the year, and then the other grandparents come and live part of the year, and just a lot of different people that I'm teaming with all the time. And now I'm in a chapter of my life where I'm doing kind of like a daytime NCS. So I'm working with moms that are going to be they're going to be doing breastfeeding, and I have to figure out, like, when do I need to come? When am I going to be most useful? And I don't want to just come in and have the baby sleeping. And, I love that. I love teaming with different people, and feel that that's definitely one of my superpowers.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Cindy.
It's wonderful.
Anybody else?
Yes, Stacy has her hand up.
All right.
There we go. A number of years ago, I heard the phrase, and it was a game changer for me. My child is not giving me a hard time. My child is having a hard time. And that simple flip takes you from being on opposite sides to being on the same side, wanting to make your team the best it can be.
Mm-hmm.
In the last few years, I've begun to actually apply that to the parents. The parents aren't giving me a hard time. The parents are having a hard time with the most important job that they're ever going to do in their lives, that they are so terrified of doing wrong. I have almost 35 years of experience with little kids. They don't have that. And they're afraid of getting it wrong. And when I see them as struggling, then we can be on the same side. And I can say, okay, tell me what your greatest fear is, and tell me how I can support you with that fear. Another one that I have discovered over the years is I found myself in a niche of ending up with babies that have colic and reflux and are very high needs. And I find that I can sit for hours holding those babies if that's what it takes to put things right in their world for this moment. Because with a high needs baby, there's always going to be another catastrophe for them down the road. But in finding those moments, you allow those little bodies to release stress. And then another one is that I like to observe my little ones even when they're babies and see what they reach for, what makes their eyes light up. And then I deep dive it with them. And even if they're 6 months old, but they notice that they really like textures, I'm going to pull out my yarn and my crochet hooks, and I'm going to make them something to explore.
Great.
That's so good, Stacy.
I need that.
Anybody else?
Come on, you guys. You all have a magical superpower. What is it? Share it with us. Anita.
She goes, oh no.
She can't hurt me.
Just even want to mute yourself.
It's okay
I
if you
just
don't
kind
want to.
I only laugh because sometimes I feel like, and this isn't a brag, I feel like I have to have too many superpowers in the position I'm in because it's so unique and so different. And I hate to strive on that, but I've gone through a transition. Y'all are actually making it all come back forward. And Glenda and Becky know that I can honestly say, if you hang in there and you learn and you listen and you do the work, you come out on another end of it all. And I am actually coming out on an end that I didn't think I would see. And it's going on 3 years. So I think my superpower has been to be able to learn to listen, learn, and own it and make it happen. I mean, I don't know. I'm almost in tears listening to y'all because it's been a very difficult time without going into it. But yeah, and I'm seeing things that I didn't think I would see in I'm going on 31 years now as a nanny. So yeah, I'm, you know, I bow down to you all and I thank you all because I've learned from each and every one of you. But my superpower was that I knew I had to do the work. And it's hard for me to do the work because
That's huge.
yeah, I'm a person who just doesn't, I just go in there and do it. But I didn't realize I had to put work into it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've come out with a big superpower.
That's a good one. That's good.
Yeah. Anybody else? No?
That's okay. Well, I'm going to post into the chat an Adobe little item, the PDF, with some prompts for things to think about that are positive, uplifting, to remember about yourself, especially if you're having a bad day, even a bad moment. So you can grab that and use it if you want to, or keep it with you. I think it's nice to have those things in front of you from time to time, actually physically to look at and say, yes, that is true. I'm having a bad day, but that's true about me. So feel free to grab that. And
It's a beautiful PDF. You can print them out and,
just keep them with you if you want.
yeah, do whatever you want with them, but they really are gorgeous. And writing those things down, I'm sorry, Becky, to just interject here, but writing those things down is such an incredible way to reinforce the things that you forget about yourself, the best things you forget about yourself. You really need to write them down. You really need to keep them in your portfolio, keep them in your bedside, whatever, but they are gorgeous, gorgeous documents, and you can write on them, you can cut them up and, create with them whatever you want. But Becky did a beautiful job of making them for you. That was her labor of love.
Your free gift for joining tonight. So we're gonna close out, and I think if people want to hang in there for a little while, we'll take questions too. But Glenda's going to close out, and then right after Glenda's going to closing out the giveaway. The giveaway is going to happen.
Well, I know that some of you that are in here have heard this before, but I think it's important. And it's something that kind of evolved at the end of our burnout workshop, and people keep asking me for it. And if you really want a copy of this, I can send you a PDF of it. Just message me. But it's called You're the Magic. When you're dealing with the nanny transitions, we don't believe in unicorn families. We don't believe in unicorn families because unicorns don't exist. And unicorn families don't exist either. We talk about this a lot in nanny transitions because nannies say, I found my unicorn family. I lost my unicorn family. But unicorns are magical beings. But you are a magical being too. My favorite quote about transitions is from the book by my mentor and friend, Melody Ross, in her book, 50 Soul Roads to the Middle of My Life. And the quote says, magical places start to lose their magic after you stay past your time. because your growth is what makes them magical. So tonight, I want you to realize something. You are what brings magic to the magical places. When you stop growing and changing, the magic fades because you're the magic. It isn't a unicorn family. You are the unicorn. You are the magic. You bring the magic to a family. It was never the unicorn. It was always, always you. You bring who you are, your personality, your sense of humor, your experience, your knowledge, your skills, your laughter, your resources, and your wisdom. And then as time goes on and everyone gets comfortable and boundaries start to break down and you lose the communication and you don't feel challenged in your job, you start to feel like you aren't happy anymore. Pretty soon you think you've lost your unicorn family. It's because the magic isn't there. It's because you are not supposed to be there anymore. It isn't your fault. Melody says we're never meant to stay on the same road all of our life. And when you leave, you take the magic with you. So you don't find a perfect family. You don't find a unicorn family. You are what brings the perfect to a family. You are what brings the magic to a job. In the book, Melody says there are so many roads you don't know about yet. So many roads waiting to be discovered. There are roads you'll have to create. There are roads you won't want to be on because they aren't right for you. But whatever road you end up on, it's going to be the exact right road for the exact right time in your life. And here is what I want you to remember. You are the magic. You bring the magic when you know where you are supposed to be. When you know what your purpose is. No matter what you leave behind, you are the one who will always be on the road with yourself. You are the magic, not the unicorn family. You bring the magic and you start a new road with a new family, and you bring the magic with you that only you can bring. It was never about a unicorn. It was always about you. And so I want you to remember that. I want you to carry it with you as you go into this week to celebrate, because every single one of you are so incredible and so special. And we love you. And we're so grateful that you came and spent time with us tonight. We appreciate it. So I'm going to let Becky give a prize away.
Well, do you want to tell them about the prize?
Well, it's our most popular giveaway during National Nanny Recognition Week. It is the Seasons and Lifetimes bracelet. And if you've never seen it, it says you have them for a season, you love them for a lifetime. So, yes, so we decided that for those of you who showed up tonight, you should be the ones that should be in the draw. So, Becky is going, what? I'm
No,
sorry.
I'm going to tell people.
Okay.
Drum roll. So I put all of your name. Well, I gave you all a number, and it's number 6. And so number 6 on my list is Stacy. You.
Oh,
Yay!
Hey, Stacy.
congratulations. I'm so happy for you.
It'll
I wish
join
I could
my
get one every day.
dragonflies.
What?
It'll join my dragonfly bracelet.
Oh, that's awesome.
There you go.
That's awesome. Yes, your dragonfly is so beautiful.
Do people have any
They are
questions?
my brother Steve.
Are there any other questions though before we,
Yeah.
stop recording? Anybody have a question?
Anybody have a question?
Oh, I see Tammy had shared something in the chat too about
okay.
what she brings. Her
She did?
superpower.
Oh, she did.
Yeah. Tammy, can I read it? Or do you want to say it?
Where is she?
I don't know.
Tammy.
Tammy.
She said you can read it. Yeah.
Oh, I should read.
No,
Okay, right.
thank you.
Okay, well, so Tammy wanted to share. She making my nannies laugh and giggle, hugs and kisses and snuggles are her superpower. Maybe making things happen in a fun and playful way. Oh, I'm all on board on that. I'm all on board on that.
That's great. Yes. Well, I think you're all wonderful, and I think you're all magical, and I think you all have a lot of superpowers. And we love you, and we celebrate you. We hope you celebrate yourself this week. Becky, are we
Have a
done?
wonderful week. We're good.
Have a great week. Be sure and register on our Google form on our page for the giveaways. We have giveaways every day this week on the Nanny Transitions Facebook page. And yeah, you have to register to be entered.